Let the music take you there. Far from the world you know. You can feel it when you say it. Then you know love. There's a joy in everything. When made for love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody of love, you'll find love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody of love, you'll find love. You'll find love. You'll find love in the music. You'll find love. You'll find love in the music. You'll find love. You'll find love in the music. You'll find love. You'll find love in the music. There's a music in the air. It makes my sorrows go. Let the music take you there. Far from the world you know. You can feel it when you say it. Then you know love. There's a joy in everything. When made for love. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody. Oh, 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 oh. Look for love in the music, lost in the melody.
Where are the guys? Can you call those guys? I want them to. Yeah, sure. Good morning. Let's give a hand of applause to our band, the University Band, for serenading us this morning. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the VC says I should not write who my name is because I'm supposed to know that. But I am Sipho Siepe. I have the singular honor to welcome you to this year, the 2024 South Africa-China International Conference on Water and Environmental Sustainability. The conference, as you'll see from your programs, is organized by the University of Zululand and Cheng'an University in China. And of course, this conference takes place under the stewardship of Professor Vetri Murugan, alumni, who happens to be the South African chair of hydrology and also the HOD in the Department of Hydrology at the University of Zululand. And of course, working with him is Professor Lee, the Vice Dean, School of Water and Environment, Cheng'an University, China. Gentlemen, thank you very much for facilitating this conference and for also making us proud. In doing so, you have made sure that you put our universities as centers of excellence and also centers of emulation. Can you guys stand up so that the people can see who we're talking about? Thank you very much. And of course, the conference would not have been possible without the support and guidance of the Office of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Kolisa Mtose. I will not say she must stand up, otherwise I'll be fired. Ladies and gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to look at the program, you'll realize that if this was a Hollywood film, it would be described as a blockbuster. Just a perusal of the conference will reveal a star-studded event. We are pleased that we are also joined in this gathering by the Deputy Minister of the Department of Water and Sanitation of South Africa, the Honorable David Mahlobo, who happens to be also a friend. Minister. He also happens to be the alumnus of this university. So we thank you once more for always gracing such occasions with your presence. The program also reveals, Vice Chancellor, that this also promises to be a festival of ideas. On the menu are all the global concerns imaginable. And this is what it should be. As we know, the survival of the world and the survival of humanity has never been in more peril than it is now. COVID-19 exposed not only how unprepared humanity is in dealing with such ecological, climatic, microbiological, chemical, and technological crises. We have reached, in a way, what some scholars call the exhaustion of knowledge, and some even say knowledge by itself, in itself, has reached a stage of a crisis. But as people of this continent, we are emboldened by the wisdom of the ages. In this regard, I would say, some of you, if you have come across a proverb, African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther or further, and some say far, go with others. And it is precisely why we have such conferences, to be able to work together in resolving what at times appears to be intractable problems of the world. And I'm pleased that when I look across here, I see that this will prove to be a forum of global experts, comprising of academics, researchers, scientists, and experts from industry. You are all welcome. And of course, our business as a university is really around the knowledge exchange and creation, and it is through dialogue. And as a minister, Deputy Minister will also indicate that this continent is a water-scarce continent. And hence the focus on recent developments in the areas of water and the environmental sustainability becomes almost opposite. And in our program, what we have done, Madam Vice Chancellor, is that there are also sub-themes that speaks mainly to the challenges that we face. In the end, we'll be judged by how far we go in imagining solutions to this. One is the water quality and public health, climate change, and extreme events, influence of microorganisms in water. And I should be remiss if I don't mention that we are pleased to indicate that when we talk about the international conference, we mean what we say. It's an international conference that will look at global concerns. And it is for that reason that the people like Professor Elumanai and Professor Lee had made sure that the spread of speakers come from every part of the globe. We have in our midst people from China, the US, Brazil, Switzerland, India, Australia, Mexico, Kenya, Botswana, Malawi, just to mention a few. But here's something, that as we meet today, we have people who come from at least five different time zones. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I tell you about what you're going to do for us, and I've already suggested that, I have the honor now of inviting the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Zululand, the person behind these events, who makes sure that there are resources. May I invite you, ma'am, and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Xolisa Mtose, to welcome this conference officially.
Program Director, Professor Sipho Siebe, the conference organizers, Professor Vetrum Murugan Alumni, South African National Chair of Hydrology, Sachi Chair Tier 1, I think it's 2, and HOD Department of Hydrology, and Professor Lee, who is a Vice Dean, School of Water and Environment, Chang'an University in China, our Deputy Minister of Department of Water and Sanitation, South Africa, the Honorable David Mahlobo. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion with your presence. Not only with your presence, but you've always been with us. We appreciate the people who this university produced, and at times of trials and tribulation, you stand behind closed doors and you support me. People don't know where I get the strength from. I get strength from people like you, that even at times of trouble, when this university is doomed, is prophesied as doomed, you stand where you are and you make it shine. And thank you for honoring us with your presence this morning. I needed to say this introducing you because people don't know who comes from this university and what is the name of this university. And today and forever, we have people like you who stand behind us and say, I come from the University of Zululand. So thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Members of extended and executive management of the University of Zululand, the Deputy Vice Chancellors here, Deputy Vice Chancellor Chaka, Institutional Support, Deputy Vice Chancellor Kunene, who's Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation, and the Dean of the Faculty, the mother of the faculty, is Professor Lihlwenya, deans and deputy deans that are present here, academic and non-academic staff and students, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, you are welcome at the University of Zululand. Good morning. Molweni. Good. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this international conference on water and environmental sustainability, a topic of immense relevance to South Africa. The conference is being held at a defining period in the history of humankind and academia. It has come at a time when the world is grappling with a myriad of interconnected issues that have been elaborated within the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Since their adoption in 2015, the operationalization and implementation of the SDGs have generated a lot of research and debate. As a framework, the goals have become a rallying template of focus and galvanizing the national and global development. It is not a mistake that NRF in days like this joins us, because they are the people and the people behind the universities to produce such intellectuals and such research. While there is no agreement about the sustainable development and means and how it is experienced, there is a growing consensus among scholars and practitioners that research and innovation constitute some of the key drivers for sustainability in development endeavors. There also appears to be a considerable amount of shared understanding that sustainability entails interdependence among the so-called triple bottom line dimensions, meaning the social, economic, and environmental aspects of life. In this connection, higher education institution, Chang'an University, in collaboration with our own University of Zululand, assume a critical role. It means that academics in both institutions have to collaborate on knowledge creation work that is aimed at addressing the challenging meeting of development in the triple bottom line aspects depicted in the SDG framework. Program Director, beyond taking pride in receiving you as the delegates of this conference, I'm particularly buoyed by the richness of not only the titles of the research papers to be delivered here, but also the diversity of institutional affiliations on the researchers, reflecting the conference's national, continental, and global footprint. Ladies and gentlemen, without preempting the outcomes of this forum, by looking at this type of participation alone, I'm tempted to predict that this conference is likely to go down in the history as one of the success stories of international research collaborations, the IRCs. But put it differently, the fact that so many scholars coming from different contexts have converged here predicts well that the expect in terms of the outcomes of this gathering. Exciting as this may be, international research collaborations have been shown to be sometimes fraught with power dynamics and conflicting interests, which may militate against sustainability and derail identified core development focus. Allow me, therefore, Program Director, to share with you a glimpse of how these dynamics can be identified with the evolution of international collaboration discourse, with special reference to science, technology, and innovations. It is argued that science, technology, and innovation as critical ingredients that contribute to sustainable development have increasingly become global and collaborative. This has made it virtually impossible for any single country to isolate itself from this trend if it has become or even become competitive. Circumventing restraint by national borders in the sphere of researchers have shown to result in growth, the production, scientific knowledge, technology, and innovation, making them available to humanity for use. She and Foxberg 2023 have postulated that until recently, modern science has been dominated by a handful of Western countries as part of their colonial interests. However, since the turn of millennium, the global science landscape has undergone dramatic changes. Within this trajectory, China has been found to stand out, emerging as one of the leading science nations in the world today. With this idea in mind, we are indeed pleased and privileged to have scientists from China participating in this conference. I think colleagues from China should give themselves a big round of applause if others are not doing it. This is not to exclude my other colleagues from other countries. Unlike the previously explosive Western models of collaborations, which have their roots in colonialism, China's distinctive historical experience and track record have earned a reputation of being leaders in charting an alternative collaboration paradigm. In elaboration of this line of thinking, some scholars, done for 2020, have pointed to China's record of engagement with countries in peripheries, the so-called Global South. The countries Confucian values of self-reliance, mutual benefit, the win-win, and non-interference, among others, equipping is to develop its own approach to international cooperation. Furthermore, Majusley 2019 have argued that China's emergence as a major global player in development cooperation has happened within the context what has been recorded as hugely successful expansion of South-South cooperation since the dawn of the new millennium. Within the discourse of South-South cooperation, world attention has been drawn to economies such as the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS, and we know that within BRICS, more countries have recently joined this grouping. As a South-South cooperation that has sought to offer an alternative model for development cooperation, one is that it is based on ethic of mutual learning and mutual assistance, among other features. Other scholars, Asante 2018, have interrogated the China-Africa relations as a case of South-South cooperation. From the analysis of somewhat unexpected finding is that most African exports to China were fuels, metals, or other natural resources, mainly raw materials, much like has been the case in the international relations that existed and still exist between Africa and Western countries. Unfortunately, progress towards the diversification was found to have been slow despite the growing Chinese presence in Africa's manufacturing sector. Ladies and gentlemen, while collaborating with a country that subscribes to anti-Western hegemonic South-South ethos may be assuring, the scenario I have just outlined leads me to raise one of the main issues to be confronted by a conference such as this. The issue is that there appears to be either a lack of development-oriented innovation capacity in Africa, or innovation endeavors, if they are, for various reasons, invisible. What is it that we need to ask? Why have we to ask why? Whatever the reasons, the status quo points to some apparent dislocations of the win-win framing of South-South cooperation arrangements. More fundamentally, this question speaks to the need to examine the impact of the scientific knowledge and innovations we produce as scholars collaborating within the South-South context. This being the picture, I would now like to conclude by touching on the issues of research and innovation impact. Esteemed conference delegates, as you settle down to engage with the ideas and knowledge generated by your own research in various contexts, I urge you to keep your eyes on tracking the impact of what can and will be harvested from the 2 days of academic engagements. I believe this call is particularly important given what appears to be an urgent conference focus on water and environmental sustainability. South Africa, as a water-scarce country, should legitimately be looking up to this conference to generate workable innovations that will lead to sustainable, environmentally friendly, and accessible clean water at all. This is important, Professor Alumenai, that as the Deputy Minister sits here today, that he gets a summary or a presentation of all the papers that will be presented in this conference, so that it just doesn't end here, but it takes our country forward because of the knowledge and the kind of scholarship that is going to come from this conference, because he will not have time to be here for the 2 days. But he has got interest, that's why he's sitting here today, to know what is the outcome of what we have done. I will not talk about NRF here because you know where the money comes from. So you will do what's honorable. Finally, by the way of emphasis, we should move beyond measuring impact of research through citation metrics, which do not show how knowledge may not trickle down to address material challenges of the poor. Instead, impact measures must capture evidence of material difference particular knowledge and innovations have made and are making to the poor. With these few words, on behalf of the University of Zululand and our partner, Shangan University, I once again welcome you to this conference and wish you productive deliberations, and I thank you.
We meet, we gather, but not without expectations. And I think what the VC has actually done is to give you a line of march and an assignment. So in your presentation, she has suggested that the issue of impact is very important. May I ask the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, to introduce the Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Program Director. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Honorable David Mahlobo. The Honorable David Mahlobo is the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation. He previously served as the Deputy Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, and the Minister of both Energy and State Security. He holds a BSc degree in microbiology and biochemistry, and a BSc honors degree in biochemistry from the University of Zululand. Among his many accolades, before assuming his current position, he was head of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. From 1995 to 1999, he was a member of the Faculty Board of Science and Agriculture. This is what it was called then, our faculty. And in 1998 to 1999, he was a committee member of the Tutu Trust. From 2002 to 2006, the Honorable Mr. Mahlobo was a Director of Transformation in the Department of Water Affairs and Forestry. He has extensive experience in water sector, which began with his role in the Mpumalanga Department of Water and Forestry, where he was responsible for Upper Olifants River catchment. Mr. Mahlobo's work focused on water use, control and municipalities and industries. Also water resource management protection, impact management, water quality management, and communication. This hands-on experience in managing water resources has provided him with invaluable insights into the complexities of water quality and sustainability. Mr. Mahlobo's diverse and extensive background in science, governance, and water management, coupled with his unwavering dedication to public service, makes him a distinguished and highly respected figure. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Deputy Minister. Mahlobo, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Vice Chancellor, for the introductions. My sincere thanks to my elder brother and the leader, and one of our finest scholars, Professor Siepe, who's our program director. Your Excellency, our Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Zululand, Professor Xolisa Mtose. She's one of the finest, and when we stand here, we are very proud that you rescued our university from the ruins that were going there. Not an easy task. Today we are here and in a position to hold our heads high. This university motto was diligence we grow. And you have made us to grow where we are. And thanks for saving our nation. Manje ke sithi ke wathinta abafazi, wathinta imbokodo. And our greetings to all our deputy vice chancellors that are here and the entire top management. To my brother, Professor Elumlai, who's the chair of South African Hydrology, also the head of our department, one of the finest departments in our country out of the 3 or 4 universities that are offering hydrology, a very special field. Hydrology is not just a science, it's about life. It's about life, and we're very pleased with your colleagues, including our dean, that they are very supportive of the work you do. Our friends and partners from the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Professor Li, who's the conference chair and the vice dean of the School of Water and Environment at Shanghai University in China. Ni hao. And our Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University, Dumanze, thank you very much. And our Honorable Dr. Patrick Nojola, the Director of National Research Foundation, South Africa. Thank you very much. I was one of the beneficiaries of NRF. Normally, when I drive to the office in Pretoria there, I still use the old names in Schoeman Street. I passed there next to your building, where one of those were funded by NRF, and we are very pleased that you continue to support this space. Our distinguished academics and national and international universities that are here, our esteemed leaders of various stakeholders in our sector and civil society, more importantly, the delegates, especially our respected professors, our researchers, our scientists, industry representatives, and students, our future, from various universities across the globe, and fellow South Africans, on behalf of His Excellency, our President, Cyril Ramaphosa, the people and the government of South Africa, we are very pleased that our university, the University of Zululand, indeed you are becoming a node for African thought. And we have convened us here in the beautiful place of Richards Bay. I was asked to make a keynote address, but Professor Siepe never gave me the keys. I don't have notes that I have. Well, I only couldn't find the address. He only gave me a GPS to come to this hotel. But on a serious note, it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor. The Vice Chancellor would have chosen someone else to come and speak here. I'm not that learned. I dropped out of school, and Professor Emlai says I must go back to school, I promise him, so that I'll be able to speak with confidence. But in your presence today, we have to be in a position to know that the world is facing many challenges. There are many challenges that we are facing around the world, in the main, there's a high level of instability and security problems. We know that the world is on the brink of a third world war. We know that there's a situation of the conflict that is happening between Russia and Ukraine. And it's been happening for quite some time. Many lives have been lost. And there's that war is not actually coming to an end. It's taking another turn. That war has caused disruptions in the supply chains. In the main, issues around food security. And the biggest impact is in our continent, Africa. But including the issues of the rising cost of living. Those are the challenges we face. There is an untold suffering that is happening in the Middle East. The situation that is happening between Palestine, the brutal killings of innocent women and children that are defenseless, that are happening in the Gaza Strip. And that war continues. It's an endless war. And the world community is unable to resolve the problem. And humanity is under threat. We can't breathe. The situation in South China Sea, you know, the escalation around military, and all these other issues that are happening. Many people around the globe, they can't breathe. There are dark moments, and the clouds are coming up. Nobody is sure what is going to happen. We just survived one of the biggest pandemics of our lives, when many people perished on the basis of the severe coronavirus that took many lives. But because of the advances in science, engineering and technology and medicine, we're able to respond as a global community. And many lives were saved. In other words, many governments had to be in a position to grapple with the issues of two contradictions, saving livelihoods and at the very same time protecting lives. And many, many countries have not recovered from that pandemic. Many of the resources that were meant around the question of sustainable development goals, especially the SDG goals that have to deal with issues of water, environment, you know the linkages between water, environment, and food and energy, that particular nexus. Many of them, those resources had to be diverted around the question to say, how do we give relief? That's where the money has gone. And our issues around achieving the sustainable development goals, they were pushed to the back burner. But equally, many, many of our countries today, they are spending the biggest budget around the issues of military. And the military industry is thriving on the basis that there is huge investment. And this is threatening humanity. And the impact is big. What has happened? Major issues around water, environment, including the issues we agreed around the Paris Declaration on climate change, they have not been given the priority they deserve. What do you do as thought leaders? What do you do? Are you feeling yourselves as academics, as young scientists, as professionals, policymakers, that you don't have a voice? Do you feel that you are helpless? Do you feel that these governments that are leading us, because many people are starting to have no faith in democracy, because their conditions are becoming worse and worse. It will be probably important to quote one of our founding fathers of our democracy, His Excellency Nelson Mandela, when he said, "It's a call to you and all of us." I quote him, "I like friends who make independent minds, who have independent minds, because they tend to make you to see problems from all angles, I close quote. I like friends who have independent minds because they tend to make you to see problems from all angles. What is the message? Under the stewardship of Her Excellency, our Vice Chancellor, we have convened here. You must knock sense to those of us who are in government and those of us who are in authority. Don't be scared to raise your voice. Don't be scared to stand for the truth. Many nations that have advanced, they have always believed on the human capital. They have always believed in their intelligence. Don't be cowards. Don't suffocate that you can't tell what is actually scientifically proven. In other words, it's evidence-based. And raise it even if you are the lonely voice. It might be cold there. Don't become sweethearts when it comes to information and knowledge. That is evidence-based. That's the message that I hope that by the time you conclude in the next 2 days, your engagement, you will be able to bring back the matters of your field into the agenda. In the agenda of decision makers. I normally attend on behalf of South Africa the Karoo Water Week. Normally they have a conference of parties. Every time they discuss these matters in the conference of parties, including now in September, UNGA is going to be sitting. Our matters of life, which is water and environment, they are not on the agenda. It's by the way, it's on the sidelines. We must be on the main table. One president, His Excellency President Ruto, said, the difficulty if we are not on the main table, you might actually become a menu yourself. In other words, if you don't elevate your issues, because science and engineering is not for you, it's for humanity. It's about advancement, it's about justice and equality. I thought, Prof, I should start with that. Because sometimes the work you do, it always makes a difference in people's lives. And the sector, Prof, you are in, is about life. I wanted to be a medical doctor when I joined that university. Doctors, they say they save lives, but when I studied water, I understood that I bring life. That's what I understood. The other quotation I want to make before some of the issues in my message. Now that I've painted the world in turmoil, and many people are losing hope, they can't breathe. Nelson Mandela would have said to us, and I quote him, I am a fundamental optimist. Part of an optimist is to keep one's head pointing towards the sun. Very, very profound. And he continues to say, one's feet moving forward. Keep walking and soldier on, because you can see that your head is putting to the direction of the sun. He continues to say, there were many dark moments when my faith in humanity was sorely tested, but I will not and could not give myself up to despair. That lies defeat and death. I close quote. Those are some of the things that, even if you can feel that you as professionals, knowledge workers, you are not appreciated. But you can't say this world must disappear. This world is not for you. It's an inheritance that we are holding for the next generation, which is for the next generation. And that is for our children. I thought I should be starting with a conclusion. That's how I started, Prof, deliberately. Well, my friend from China, when we are here today, my brother, in Chinese, we believe that this gathering today, we always say, let the 1,000 flowers bloom. Let the 1,000 flowers bloom. In other words, let's have the festival of ideas. But if you are a scientist, you can't only mix theory without practice. That's why the Chinese, they said, you know what, if you want to cross the river, on your bare foot, you must have the courage to get in there and feel the stones. You touch the stones with your bare feet. In other words, you must walk on fire and be able to do that. What are we actually dealing with today? The global population is estimated to grow exponentially by 2050 to about 9 billion. That's what is happening. And many, many other nations, they've made a choice because we are becoming more consumptive as humanity, that they wanted to increase their population. Others are changing policy. I know in the People's Republic of China, there was one child, family China police. Now people are being encouraged to be more. In our own continent, we're more than 1 billion. And when you sit here today, this is what we need to grapple with. The solutions, the proposal that you make. Our population in less than 30 years' time will be more than 9 billion. And that will impact on demographic changes in many countries, especially in Africa. The population growth is one of the biggest challenges of our time. And many, many governments around the world, they have not planned properly for population growth. Because population growth has an impact around the question of availability of water and how water can be used. Population growth also has an impact around the issues of environment and how we manage the environment in a sustainable way. Therefore, in your discussion, you have to resolve the issues of population growth around the finite resource and what we do. The other matter that we are also dealing with is the issue of migration. Our people are moving. We have a free movement because some of these borders are artificial. We are interconnected, we are in one globe. There is nothing wrong for people to move, but the movement must be in a position that it is properly regulated. There is an inward movement within countries where people are moving from rural areas into cities. In other words, we're becoming more and more urban. But at the very same time, other countries are thriving on the basis of wars, on the basis that there's a deprivation. Then they move around. Then there are issues where people are dying in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to go to Europe. And then the UK is trying to bring people to us in Rwanda. That's a phenomenon that we are dealing with. Even around planning, you must be ahead of the curve on the basis of these variables. The other matter we need to look at is the question of the growth of GDPs. Our GDP before 1994, it was less than R1 trillion. As we speak, our GDP is close to R7 trillion. When the economy grows, because water is an input, a very important input, around issues of production, issues of industry, and all other things, because the major components for the goods and services that must be produced, the more the economy grows, the more there is going to be demand, the more it's going to be a breach. That's the issue we must be able to deal with, issues of growth in economies. And the growth must never be stunted. Because if the population grows, the economy is growing less than the population growth, then you have a problem of issues of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. When those three combine together, you have the highest possibility of unrest, and it becomes a security risk. It does not only pose a security risk, it's also an environmental risk, because there is going to be an environmental degradation, impact on the biodiversity. Those are the issues that you'll have to handle with. The last phenomenon that you need to look at is a question of climate change. Climate change is no longer a myth, it's a reality. In our own shores here, we have a situation in the Eastern Seaboard where we have a number of, the rainfall is more than the natural average that we normally experience, which is normally half the average of the world average in terms of the rainfall. And it has caused devastating effect, climate change. That devastating effect, there are floods, major infrastructure is being actually washed away. Actually, people are settling in areas that are beautiful hills and valleys. They are being washed away. How you settle people, how you plan land use management, the issues of technology that must be used around infrastructure will never be the same. They must be able to adapt to climate change with the issues around how communities, you build resilient communities in dealing with those issues. Some parts of our country and our continent, on the basis of climate change, there is prolonged drought. A very funny phenomenon happens here in a very beautiful city called Nelson Mandela Bay. It rained around, but when it was raining, the water was not falling into that particular catchment. It remained dry for more than 7 years. They were close to day zero, close to day zero. That's what they experienced. And it does happen. And when there's no rain, there's no productivity. Companies are pulling out, municipalities can't provide water, and many of the investment opportunities that are there is a problem. Therefore, climate change is an important matter that will suggest that you, as the Brain Trust, you must be able to look at that particular issue. Why I'm raising these issues, Comrade Prof. Siepe, climate change has a major impact on water supply and delivery. And it can't be ignored. And climate resilience strategies are important. Why did I raise the question of the population? The population growth actually puts more demands on the finite water resource. There are people who think that there's going to be additional water. There's not going to be any additional water. Every drop of water you waste here, someone is looking for that drop somewhere else. Every drop of water you waste today, someone is looking for that drop. Why did I raise the issues of biodiversity? If the ecosystem is fragmented, then it will decline. That's the challenge you face. And that decline, it will put many species to be threatened because there will be no balance. Some of them, they will be extinct. And immediately you disrupt that value chain, what happens to humanity? The entire system will then be actually impacted. That will require issues of regulation. Why do I raise these issues? You know one thing that normally happens. There are people who want to keep secrets. And they think that their secrets one day will never be known. When it comes to water, water does not keep a secret. Do you know that? Water does not keep a secret. Anything that in terms of human activity you do it through water, whether it is underground through the aquifers, it flows. But one day, it will land on someone's lips. One day it will land on someone's lips. When it lands on your lips, on that day, that secret will be exposed. One of the issues around that secret, human activity has put strain on the issue of water quality. There's a huge deterioration of water quality around the globe. We might not run out of water as a globe, but the water will not be fit for use. For it to be used, it will be very expensive to treat it. it will be very expensive to treat it. In South Africa, what are we dealing with? In South Africa, we've made a choice in terms of water security. One of the choices we've made on the basis of our prevailing circumstances, we've chosen a policy called water mix. In other words, we draw our water resources from surface water, we build more dams, we catch it in various catchments. And currently, we're using about 75% of surface water, is our policy. Our policy also says that we must explore groundwater. There is a lot of groundwater. Even time immemorial, our forefathers, they will go to the springs. There is water. And we have to be in a position that as scientists, as engineers, hydrologists, you can name all the field, spend more time creating a repository of information around groundwater and availability. It's an important component of the mix. And it has not been fully explored. But there is a risk on groundwater too. The population growth, the densification, and some people who don't have decent sanitation, human excreta mixing with groundwater. Issues of agriculture and all the products that are being produced, and including industries, is no longer safe, Prof, ukuthi mawufika eilalini, uthi ucela amanzi asepitsini. They can look colorless, but it does not mean Professor Siepe is clean. But it's part of the mix. And many, many communities are dependent on that. On the mix, we have something we called use of seawater. We're surrounded by a seashore, more than 3,000 and something square kilometers. That's South Africa, our biggest advantage. Desalination is an option, but there is a problem with technology. The technology remains very expensive, but it must not be discarded. Here in Richards Bay, there is a desalination plant, is absolutely as we speak. And in the Western Cape and many other areas, we can't be able to do that. And desalination can go hand in hand around the nuclear plant in the Eastern Cape and Western Cape. Remember the water and energy nexus, including the food nexus, very, very important. But then environmentally, the issues of the disposal of the brine is an important issue. Because we know that there are many people who like salt. I never knew that salt is dangerous, but it is dangerous for our health. But probably these brains here, you might want to look at other options, how to deal with the question of brine. Then in other ways, we are having those particular options. But what do we do to increase the availability and the mix as a country? One of the things that we must also know that is an advantage for us as South Africa. We don't have many big rivers. We share with our neighbors. We are very grateful to the people of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, the people of Mozambique, and the Kingdom of Eswatini. We have learned to share water. That water knows no boundaries, the way it flows. Water doesn't have politics. It doesn't know any ideology. Don't bring politics in water. There is politics where people use water as an instrument to subject others, but no politics. Our cooperation is one of the best examples on shared water systems. But we know that in other parts of our continent and in the world, water has been a source of conflict. The situation that happened in the Nile River around the question of Sudan, the question of Ethiopia, and the question of Egypt is a matter that should have been handled very differently. Because those who live upstream, they must know that someone is living downstream. The question around the Golan Heights between Lebanon and Israel is a source of conflict even today. And if issues of water cooperation and transboundary cooperation around shared systems are not handled well, instead of being issues of development, of prosperity, of a shared destiny as humanity, we can't be in a position where we act like fools and then we perish. Therefore, in your way of managing our systems, looking at policies, advances in science and technology, take those issues into consideration. Our country does not have sufficient water. But I wanted to indicate that when we look at our water balance, South Africa between now and 2030, our water balance is still okay. We do have some surplus. But it does not necessarily mean there are no areas of deficit. It depends on a particular water management area. We have about 6 or 7 water management areas. Certain management areas, there's an oversupply. In other areas, there is issues of deficit. To avoid that we'll run out of water in 2030 and beyond, what are we doing as a country? One of the things that we are doing, we're investing a lot of money in terms of bulk water infrastructure projects. A number of them, for an example, will be bringing more water to Gauteng from Lesotho using the Polihali Dam. It's called Lesotho Phase 2, costing billions of rand, more than 46 billion rands. It will feed into the Katse Dam so that we can be able to bring more water to the city of Gauteng. One of the funny things we deal with in South Africa is an apartheid policy and speciality of water, where a lot of water was actually developed from other provinces and it gets to be transferred through canals of thousands of kilometers to Gauteng. Why? To support the mining industry. There are many of dams here. In KwaZulu-Natal, you have a Woodstock Dam here in Ladysmith. It filled in Free State, in Sterkfontein. It go to the valves. The valve system has 14 systems that are supplying. Even water from my own home province, Mpumalanga, it goes to Gauteng for mining. And we're trying to balance that. In the Western Cape, we're doing a big dam. We're expanding dams. You know, dams that are there. When you expand from a structural engineering, a dam wall, it actually creates more capacity and volumes. Glen Williams Dams is already on board. We're moving here. In KwaZulu-Natal, water has an impact on growth. That's why we're looking at lower Umkomazi and upper Umkomazi to be able to do that. There's many of these projects running more than 110 billion rands. It's an investment around water resource infrastructure so that we don't run out of water as a country. What else are we saying we're going to do not to run out of water? We're saying that the issues of aquifer artificial recharge, when it rains, during the good times, engineers and scientists, you must answer the question, and hydrologists, how do you do an artificial recharge? It rains, it flows. Should it flow into the sea? The answer is a big no. Certain component for environment must go to the sea, a certain quantum, so that you can meet your resource quality objectives. But certain quantum, we must recharge it into the sea. That is our solution to increase the mix. To increase the mix, we're also saying let's invest in technology, what we call it water reclamation. In our country, as a formerly mining capital, there's a lot of groundwater, highly polluted, with heavy metals and other things that are there. That water is available. We have to use it. Many mines have introduced what we call it technologies around acid mine drainage. And it's an opportunity that we need to do assessment and investment. Little bit expensive, but necessary. When Timanzi, you introduced me, I worked in the Olifants system. There's a dam in Witbank, it's called Witbank Dam, has a lot of water. But underground, when I used to work there, many years ago, the volume of polluted underground water based on the issues of mining at that time was 10 times the volume of Witbank Dam. In other words, we could create a dam underground, but the water is not fit for use. Therefore, the issues of water reclamation and water treatment, so that we can increase the availability, is a choice we have to make. South Africa is producing a lot of effluent, and many other countries. The effluent that we produce is either partially or untreated, and it goes to the water systems. Untold damage on the basis of our ecosystem, the impact on the biodiversity. And what do? We say let's reuse water. Water reuse and recycling is the way to go. In other words, we must be able to say the effluent must be in a position from a scientific point of view that it can be treated to a particular level for other uses. An example, the mining sector in Limpopo, a company producing chrome in Africa. More than a 10 billion rand investment, we nearly lost it. That company wanted to use effluent. What did they do? They said, give us effluent, not raw water. We can't use raw clean water for other things. Then we had to ask a small municipality there, Muhalakwena, to agree that they can build a treatment plant. The only thing they were asking for them, give us the land and produce more effluent. Producing more effluent, it means settle more people, give them more homes, connect them, then we'll have an effluent. It's the way to go. Even for agriculture and for other sectors, they don't need water to be at a level of our standard in our country for drinking water, which is SANS 241. It can be other standard. It's part of the mix. You increase the water availability. Here in KwaZulu-Natal, in Maritzburg, I left the province many, many years ago. I forgot the new names there. But it's in Maritzburg. In Maritzburg, there's something called the circular economy around water use. The effluent comes in, it gets to be treated. And part of the effluent is being used for industrial water. They know how to manage the sludge. And the way they manage the sludge, they are able to convert the sludge and burn it into hydrogen gas. There are gas cylinders there. We've made that plant that it will produce 1 megawatt of electricity. Remember, we're running out of electricity as a country. There was load shedding. We're not out of the woods. Looking at the forms of electricity. And this is green and clean energy. And the water now that gets to be released into Umgeni system, the municipalities down there, they are able to spend less money on treatment on the basis that the effluent, it meets standards. You don't have to spend more money to doing that. And you could see water recycling, reuse is an important, we're answering the question, where water will come from. Because that question, in water, water is simple, it's two things. It's about quantity and quality. You answer that. It's a balance sheet. It's like when you do accounting. Owner's equity, asset minus liabilities. Water is source, which is quantity and quality. You balance the two, we are fine. That's what it has to happen. Then after we've dealt, you can do other funny things, rainwater harvesting, you can do atmospheric water solution, you know, where you actually steer the air, it comes to a cold surface, then from there it condenses, it forms drops, and then blah, blah. You can even do for small communities. I don't know the energy consumption, someone must do it. But I'm answering, Prof, the question, where water will come from. The next question is the provisioning, service. Someone must use the water. How are we doing as a country? South Africa, more than 90% of South Africans that were denied access to water and its benefits, today they do have access to water. However, there's a bad side. The availability at 90% does not necessarily mean now people have water every day and every month, all the year. In terms of reliability, there's issues of access to an infrastructure, there's a tap and so forth. It has declined. In certain instances, in terms of our average as a country, it has declined to 67%. But in another municipality I will not name here, it has declined to 28%. What an inconvenience. What a right to life where we have been actually not given that access. And access to sanitation is more than 84%. What is our challenge? Our institutions that are providing water, they have deteriorated over time. We have done an assessment report, it's called the DROP report. One of the DROP reports is called Blue Drop. It's an instrument, a self-assessment tool, so that we can be able confidently and say the state of water in our country, where are we? The Blue Drop, it measures the component, microbial and chemical component, whether they are meeting certain standards, so that you can drink the water. And many municipalities, I can say to you, they are not performing well. The authorities that must provide water in our country, there are 144. And in total, municipalities are 257. About 67 of them is not safe to drink water in their water system. What has happened? Some of them, they don't have people who are properly qualified. Water is a science. Water is an engineering. Environment is a science. But all these things are meant for humanity. There are people who are working there, Prof, they are not supposed to work there. And these are the people we must send to you, Prof, to train. Even those who have been working for 40 years without certificates, there is an RPL, recognition of prior learning, they must come and work. Some of them, they run out of chemicals, like your chlorine, your flocculants, and do all those things. Then there's something called Green Drop. Green Drop is about the effluent. And many municipalities, they forgot one philosophy. When you connect more people into the system, it works on issues of pressure. The unit that is being used on measuring pressure, on one, you touch one end of the system, on then you don't touch the entire value chain. That's how pressure it is. Unless you deploy pressure reducing valves within the system, so that your calibration does not have a problem in terms of engineering. And many of communities, for the first time, they flush toilets. But municipalities, they never increase the number of waste treatment plants. We just connected many households because we have provided many households and the system has clogged. And many effluent goes into our rivers. Main powerful river like the Hartbeespoort Dam has been having hyacinths over years. And some funny scientists, Prof, funny scientists, they say we must remove the hyacinth. They said to government we must spend more than R1 billion. We did spend it. But they forgot only one thing, that when you deal with pollution, you must actually stop it from source. We'll remove hyacinths. In few minutes and few seconds, it blooms, algal bloom, and it's green. One of the beautiful tourist destinations, our pride. That dam is more than 100 years, and the entire ecosystem is threatened. Why? Upstream Gauteng is producing close to 500 million liters of partial or untreated effluent every day into that system. That's what is happening. A small municipality is down there, its water comes out brackish. They can't afford to buy chemicals. That's what it is, because everybody, there's someone living downstream. The most beautiful river we share with the Namibians, the Vaal River system in the Orange. The pollution starts at home in Mpumalanga. It's called Msugalikwa, Kucala Ilikwa. The Vaal is called Ilikwa. And then it goes to Free State, it comes to Gauteng. From Gauteng is the biggest pollution epicenter. Then it goes to the Free State again, it goes to the Northern Cape. They pollute it until it arrives in Namibia, threatening our shared river system. Certain parts of the Vaal River right now, there's hyacinths, and there's something called lettuce, very big lettuce. And we are looking at solution to say, how do we remove it? Those are the things that we're dealing with, let alone where sewer runs into people's homes and streets. That's what the green drop says. And then this brain trust here, leadership must address that. And pollution is not a South African phenomenon. It's a world phenomenon. More than billions of people don't have access to clean water, no decent sanitation. And people in 2024 are still dying on diseases of Stone Age. How can we die of cholera? Because even from a health perspective or medicinal perspective, water is the biggest instrument, just hygienic. And then the last point there I wanted to say is the issue that that assessment, it talks about non-revenue water. There are many water losses. In our country, the losses are as close to 47% on average. On average. The losses are just a function of an infrastructure that is not working. It's an infrastructure that is not. The pipes are old, they are leaking. And when they leak, do you know what happens? A citizen is angry. I don't get my water. Do you know that when they leak, that's water that has been treated? The municipalities must still pay it. Then they will owe, and it threatens the viability of our sector. Those are the challenges we've actually faced. It has an impact on the availability of water, citizen satisfaction. It has an impact on the revenue. Those are the instruments that I said we should be able to share. Let me close and say, what are we doing as a country? We are looking at an implementation model. The implementation model, there's an opportunity to invest in water. In other words, we're looking at concessions, utilities, as a model to do it. Because some of these municipalities, they will not throw the best expertise. The example here in Palito, a vice chancellor called Caesar Water is an example. Johannesburg Water is an example, but there's a role for private sector. Then there's also the role of financing. How do we finance these demands? Financing is the biggest issue. The role of private sector is going to be very important. That we must create conditions, remove all the administrative burdens for their own investment. And investment has started in Limpopo. We're doing a bigger system from Skukune until to Mogalakwena. It's called the Warp Dam. We bring water for the mines. But that water, when it goes to the mine, it must leave nobody behind. No community must have a pipeline going through them without water. In the Northern Cape, we're working with the mines and many other areas. That's what we need to do. But all the things you do, and all the things you do, at the center is people. It's people. One of our challenges we have is the behavior of citizens. South Africa, a water-scarce country, when it comes to the consumption rate, in other words, the number of liters used by person per day, that is per capita per day, the world average is around 273. South Africa, they use what? 170. The world average is 173. South Africa is 278. It's 278. And it varies. In other words, the issues of consciousness, civic education, understanding and appreciating we are in a water-scarce country is a finite resource. It has to change. Gauteng, they complain every day that there's no water. Those people, Doc, we are taking about 298 liters per person per day. 298. Close to 300 liters. We pump more water to them, they waste it. What do? They irrigate gardens with clean treated water. They wash cars with clean treated water. They do all funny things around treated water. Probably it has to change that wastewater is wealth. You can irrigate, you can do your garden, you can do all other things. You actually create a system that is properly segregated, then you can be able to use water. That's what we need to do. If people don't change behavior, what do? Do regulations. Hit them in the pocket. That's the language they understand. Hit them in the pocket. In other words, create bylaws, and then those who are wasting, there are more penalties. But those who are using water efficiently, there must be incentives. I thought without the address and the key, I should share these experiences of our own country and wish you well. In your hands, most of you are professors, highly learned people. But I learned that there was a fake professor. You know, there are also fake professors. That's why there are bodies that do proper accreditation. You must have so many athletes. A youngster heard that there was a professor in town, and he had an understanding this one is fake. And then he went to check that how capable is this prof. Then he arrived and said, Prof, I have a quiz for you. I just want you to answer me properly. And then the young man was carrying a very beautiful bird. And said, you look at this bird, Prof. I want you to tell me whether this bird is alive or dead. Then the young man took the bird behind his back. Then the prof can't see the bird. But professors are very ethical, moral, and intelligent people. They look at this young man, and then he smiled. And he said to Prof, the life of that bird is in your hands. If it was this fake professor, he would have guessed. He would have taken a guess. Because what you see on the surface and what you read as a question, it has a deeper meaning. On the face value, you will have just promptly responded. If we would have said that that bird is dead, the young man will have retrieved the bird and say, Prof, we are very dumb. We are very stupid. This bird is alive. But if that prof has said that that bird is actually alive, that young man will have squeezed the oxygen out of that bird. And then he will have said, Prof, you see, you got it wrong. This bird is dead. What does it mean? You as knowledge workers, you as our professionals and future leaders, those who are still young, in your hands, we are holding the life of a bird. The bird is our children's children. Their future is dependent on the footprint and the legacy you leave today. We are not living for yourselves. All of us, we yearn for a world in peace, a world that is just in harmony. And we're only bequeathed as this generation with the responsibility to pass planet Earth to the next generation in a better position we managed to find in. You dare not fail the next generation. I wish you well. Thank you. Chang Chang.
Colleagues, join me again in thanking the Deputy Minister, the Honorable, for delivering. It was deliberate that we invited him because it always helps to have people who are in the cold face. And what he did provide is to give us a bird's eye view or a helicopter view of the challenges that policymakers must deal with, but also the real challenges that the population is faced with. As you listen to him, he was able to take you through the political angle and the dimensions of water, the social dimensions, the economic dimensions, the technological dimensions, the legal. So as we talk about impact, we need to also to try to factor and triangulate those, as he said in ending, so that no one is left behind. Without much ado, we're going to do some of the administrative things, which is really to thank him properly. And what we do, we give presents that will be declared in Parliament. Yeah. May I ask those charged to do the honor, Professor Lekwenya? By the way, one of the things that the Deputy Minister says, he speaks from the heart. So those of you, if you're not listening and taking notes, we'll try to make sure that the video is available.
We just can declare that there is no million rands here.
Given by my mom.
It's a token of appreciation, Minister, for really for taking time out of your office and making sure that you come and feed us this morning and pave the way for this conference. You've been such a blessing. It's an honor for us to have you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, while they're taking pictures, this is a time for us to take a break so that we can move with our program. So feel free to start moving. And thank you for being such a good audience. And oh, by the way, the conference organizers would like to have pictures of all of you outside. Professor Elumanai will tell you where to meet all the other guys, but he likes to have most of you. Oh, wait, we better talk to what do you want to do? Or do you want to take the picture with the Vice Chancellor? With the colleagues? Oh, no. Okay, fine. Okay, guys, let's go and have our tea. These guys will sort out themselves.
We have all decided to join the gift.
My flight is, yeah, my other office is
ulole wewayi tutula, ulole wewayi tutula, ulole wewayi tutula, nangwe siza. Ulole wewayi tutula, ulole wewayi tutula, ulole wewayi tutula, nangwe siza. Sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, nangwe siza. Sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, sule zonyembezi mtakwesu, nangwe siza. Uloliwe, uloliwe, wai tutula, uloliwe wakitutula, uloliwe wai tutula, nangwe siza. Uloliwe, uloliwe, wai tutula, uloliwe wakitutula, uloliwe wai tutula, nangwe siza. Phezulu enkosini kuhlali izingwele zodwa, uma ufunayo ubuyafunayo thandaza. Phezulu enkosini kuhlali izingwele zodwa, uma ufunayo ubuyafunayo thandaza. Uloliwe, uloliwe, wai tutula, uloliwe wakitutula, uloliwe wai tutula, nangwe siza. Uloliwe, uloliwe, wai tutula, uloliwe wakitutula, uloliwe wai tutula, nangwe siza. wayembethe ingubo ezimhlophe wayembethe ingubo ezibomvu lalisitsho lisithi ilizwe lifile jilo jilo yamandilo jolo hey wayembethe ingubo ezimhlophe wayembethe ingubo ezibomvu lalisitsho lisithi ilizwe lifile jilo jilo yamandi lo jolo jilo jilo yamandi lo jolo jilo jilo yamandi lo jilo jilo yamandi lo jolo
Colleagues, could you ask your other colleagues to come in so that we can proceed with the program? So I'll start in 1 minute, then I'll call the next speaker. Given the time constraints, I will not waste time. The speakers, their background is covered in the abstract, in the documents, so I will not waste time by reading that and also insult your intelligence, because I know you are capable of doing that. May I call the second speaker for the day, the director at the National Research Foundation, Dr. Patrick Nonjola, to come to the stage.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, I think due to time, my talk here is going to be very brief, but I think there are some key issues that you must probably note, especially for postgraduate students as well as emerging researchers. Program Director, Vice Chancellor and Minister, Honorable Mahlobo, who has just left, Deputy Vice Chancellors, organizers of the conference chairs, Prof. Alumilai and Prof. Lee, Dean, all stakeholders, representative invited speakers, distinguished guests, esteemed scholars, researchers, academic, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. So I'm from the NRF, from the department called International Grants and Partnership. Mostly what we do there is we facilitate granting through our partnerships as well as some thematic areas. So my talk will focus on two things, addressing the grant challenges in terms of granting and funding opportunities, as well as indicating some of the funding opportunities that the NRF support or provide to researchers. So for me, it is a great pleasure and honor to stand before you, gentlemen, in this South Africa-China conference that is being organized by the University of Zululand and Chang'an University. So as indicated by the previous speakers, the Minister and the Vice Chancellors, is that this conference will present the remarkable achievement, knowledge sharing and scientific contribution made by researchers and scholars who've made dedicated their lives to impactful research for scientific benefit in South Africa as well as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, with the noble goal of advancing versatile addressing issues of inequalities, championing sustainability and just development, elevating poverty and unemployment. So this conference will also give the participants and scholars the opportunity to establish collaborations as well as knowledge sharing. Colleagues, so in addressing the grand challenges that for granting opportunities, as you are aware that the South African Cabinet approved the Science and Technology and Innovation, the Decadal Plan. So this plan emphasizes on science, technology, and innovation. Priorities align with the key sectors of the economy, such as agriculture, manufacturing, mining, health, energy, and digital and circular economies. as well as 3 societal grand challenges, namely to eliminate change and environmental sustainability, future of education, skills and work, and the future of society. So in continuing to develop the NSI, the Decadal Plan also highlights initiatives aimed at expanding the transformation, transforming the human resources base of the national NSI, and strengthening the transformation of research enterprise. It deals with the above context in mind that the DSI and the NRF embarked on strategic engagements with historical disadvantaged institutions, as well as the University of Technologies and universities with less than 14 research chairs. As we all know that Vetri received his chair last year, so we are looking to encourage institutions to establish more chairs. So I hope with this gathering that researchers, especially the established researchers, will use their expertise in terms of forming the research chairs within their expertise. So ladies and gentlemen, so now, in addressing these issues is that from our perspective is that universities' research agenda or strategy, what we're looking at is that they must align with the Decadal Plan, thematic areas, and this can open avenues for significant granting of funding opportunities for South African universities. Secondly, it is important for universities to identify key areas for research or initiatives that align with national priorities and global challenges, focusing on issues such as renewable energy, healthcare, access, climate change, mitigation, economic development, or food security. So to maximize the funding opportunity, collaboration is very key. I think that's why we're all here, is because of South Africa and China collaboration research that they have done. So one of the things is that universities can collaborate with industry as well to form interdisciplinary research teams, engage in knowledge exchange with communities. Universities can also leverage their academic expertise and research infrastructure to promote innovative solution to grand challenges, which can attract both public and private funding resources. Colleagues, I think being proactive, referring to researchers, as well as strategic and innovative in addressing the grand challenges in South Africa, can position themselves, universities can position themselves as key players in driving positive change and securing the necessary funding to support their research and initiatives. The NRF, as an organization, has developed its own frameworks that support research transformation. By research transformation doesn't mean that demographics, but how we grant. Currently, we know that we have grant opportunities for individual researchers, but now what we're looking at as the NRF in this process is that we're looking at granting groups of researchers from different universities to make sure that we utilize our expertise to solve the issues of social impact. So probably in the near future, you'll see that you'll have entourage of NRF colleagues visiting institutions just to find out their institutional readiness in terms of how they can utilize their expertise in terms of for group research within the institutions or with other institutions with the same expertise. So, and now recently what the NRF established is the University Programs and Collaboration Unit, which is to enhance the capability resources available for individuals as well as group at higher education institutions to formulate, undertake, communicate, and managing quality research and postgraduate training for knowledge and societal and economic impact. This unit will focus on 3 issues. They will lead the research advancement business within the NRF to look at how the NRF funding calls and frameworks are being developed. Secondly, they will implement a bespoke institutional funding for research development at universities, focusing on HDIs as well as EOTs, as well as the new universities like your Solplakis and University of Mpumalanga, so off. So thirdly, what we looking at from these, the new unit is that they will establish a training facility unit in collaboration with Department of Higher Education and Training to enhance the capabilities at University for Research Management, Grants Management, Monitoring and Evaluation, and evolving global best practice in research and postgraduate training. So there will be funds that will be made available to those researchers and scholars in terms of how do they maximize their expertise to progress in the next 5 to 10 years. So now, the second part of my talk is looking at how can you leverage on the NRF funding policies, funding opportunities. So as you all know that it is our mandate as the NRF to fund research across all fields. So these opportunities for research, we have funding programs for researchers, meaning that we have emerging and established researchers, student, postdoctoral fellows. We have programs such as Tutuk. I think most of you emerging researchers have applied for those for that funding opportunity. We have NGAP, which is the new generation of academic programs. We also have the Black Academic Advancement Program. We have competitive support for unrated researchers. We have a competitive program for rated researchers. We have SACHIs, Centers of Excellence, National Research Institutes that it's a new funding model that the NRF and DSI has established recently, whereby we use expertise from different universities so that they can form a consortium of expertise. Like for instance, the 2 national institutes that have been established is the National Institute for Theoretical Computational and Science, the NITHEX, as well as the National Institute for Preparedness for Pandemic. So those 2 will lead the way for other areas of impact in the future, whereby institutions must come together and apply for those funding opportunities. So now, looking at the NRF and the China partnership. So we have I think this one is for emerging researchers and postgraduate students. It's called the Young Scientist Exchange Program. This program is aimed at cultivating future leading scientists between the 2 countries. So it's mostly funded by the Ministry of Science and Technology in China, and it's implemented by SysTech. I think you know the organizations, Prof. Lee. So this YSEP program provides 6 to 12 months research sabbatical to early and mid-career researchers. So please note this one. So currently the call is under negotiations and will be open in thematic areas in due course. The 2024 call will be open. Just look at the NRF website. When the call opens, please take the opportunity and maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones who will be recommended for funding for that. And then the other program that we have with China is the Joint Research Project Proposals. So the call is launched annually. And currently what we have is that we are still finalizing the 2023 call. And the 24 call will be, it's still under negotiations as well. But as soon as those negotiations and the outcomes of the 2023 outcomes have been announced, the call will open for 2024. So look at different thematic areas. The previous one was looking at modernizing the mining industry, biotech, energy innovations, space sciences, marine science, high performance computing, and then the AI, artificial intelligence. So this program also contributes to scientific advancement in both countries by funding researchers for mobility in the frame in this program. It provides opportunities for researchers to cooperate in international settings and to develop their scientific careers, especially for early stage, mid-careers, as well as female. So ladies, use the opportunity. Talk to your supervisors to look at this and support you in applying for those funding opportunities. So it's all about the research capacity development. We also have the BRICS, which is a multilateral joint science and technology research collaboration. So this program is it's an annual call. So the next call will open in February next year. So please just be on the lookout for that as well. So the BRICS program aims to support excellent basic and applied joint research programs, provide opportunities for emerging researchers. It also will contribute meaningfully to research capacity development, research career pathways. It also supports the sabbatical, but this one sabbatical is only for 3 to 6 months. Remember the YSEP, it's 6 to 12 months per project. And also within this, the BRICS, the research program, usually we have, because it's a multilateral, we usually have 3 countries within the BRICS community. And also we have the biodiversity on changing planet program within the BRICS, which will involve South Africa, USA, China, and Brazil. So if, when this call open, please, Tom, take the opportunity with Vetri and other colleagues from different countries to apply for these funding opportunities. And other opportunities with South Africa and China that we have is the Belmont Forum, which form partnership funding with different funding agencies in transdisciplinary science. So currently, no calls are open between the South Africa and China, but it's a good funding opportunities. We also have a partnership with for SDG fund. The call is last year call, it's currently being finalized. It's at the funding decision stages. And finally, colleagues, we also have the International Institute for Applied Science System. So this is just an international call for system analysis to identify policy solutions for sustainable development. And that's all from my side. I'm sorry just to end like that. But thank you for your attention, and I hope that we enjoy the next 2 days to share the knowledge and also form collaborations. And with me, I'm with my colleagues. I have Dr. Nana Bodo as well. Nana, can you please just show, by show of hands? He's responsible for the SACHI chairs. And also, if you want any information regarding the Centers of Excellence and National Research Institute, this is the man to go to talk to him. And we have my colleague, Lutanani Rambao. She's responsible for partnership with all programs that has to do with China and South Africa. So they are your people to talk to during engagements. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jock. Colleagues, that was an informational to assist those of you who are engaged in research, emerging researchers, and also postdocs. I see that people who are retired like me are not included. That doesn't mean we're tired, Chief. We can still do the work. I look forward to when we will be included. Now I have the honor of inviting the conference chair. I did indicate that Professor Lee and Professor Elumanai have been involved in ensuring that this conference takes place. And it's always very important because he's a major partner in this relationship with the University of Zululand. Now, may I call the Vice Dean, Professor Lee of Shangen University, to address us.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's honored to stand here again to talk. It's my first time to be here in Durban. And before the pandemic, I came here twice. After the pandemic, I came here twice. And we arrived here on August 5th. As soon as the plane landed in Johannesburg, I come out of the plane, I take a deep breath. Familiar smell. So last year I said it was just like I come back home. So I guess the South Africa is my second country. Yeah, I'm quite happy to be here again. So Vetri and I have a long-time collaboration. And in 2017, we got our joint project supported by NRF and NISFC, supported by South African country and China. So since then, we have done a lot of joint research. We through these 7 years, we co-published at least 15 papers. We published one book, and also this is our 5th conference co-organized. Yeah. Previously, we have 2 conferences in China, 2 conferences in South Africa. It's quite difficult. I know it's quite difficult to organize such a big event, but sure, we enjoyed this. In every event, we meet old friends and also new friends. We make new friendship with our fellows. That's what we call collaboration, the start of a collaboration. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, water and environmental problem is one of the problems we face today. It's quite important to our living. We need to solve this problem, but no one can solve it in person. Even for a single country, for a single organization, it's impossible. We need collaboration. We should join hands to solve this problem together, because this problem is a global problem. We cannot solve it alone. So that's why we come here to organize this event. We hope we get together, share our thinking, ideas, and share our experience, and maybe set up a framework, a network to work together in the future. And by this chance, I would like to thank our both countries, China and South Africa. Without the supporting from the government, from the NRF, from the NISFC, we cannot do the continuous collaboration. And we also want to thank the 2 universities, the Vice Chancellor, DVC, Dean, and everybody, and also the President. vice president in my university. Without their support, we cannot do this. And previously, we have some exchange for the students already. They sent some students to China. I brought some students from China to here. Yeah, it's quite important. Thank you to the universities. And for this event, I would like to thank all of you to be here to join this event. I met some old faces. Yeah, I mean the familiar faces, the old friends. I also met some new faces, the new friend. I hope through this event we can set up new relationship. Vetri and I are trying to set up an international network. We should work together. And privately, I can announce that next year in August, we'll organize an even bigger event. So I hope at that time you can all come here to attend that big event. Okay, finally, I wish all of you to be safe, happy, and happy life here. Enjoy your stay here. And you see the scenery here is quite beautiful. You can enjoy the dinner, enjoy the talking, enjoy everything here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we always share gifts to our guests, so we will actually do that right now. And all those who are going to be making presentations, can they bring their memory sticks so that we can actually put them so that we can actually put them in the system here, so that they should not have any problem. If you are going to make a presentation in the next session, and you have not given me your memory stick, that will not help. Please come forward. I see Vetri is having a mass meeting of presidents here. Okay, go ahead. Dean. Okay, that is to the NRF director for the. Okay, next, the Dean will give it to Professor Lee as a token of appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I've got a chair who's supposed to come here. So.
Now, Dean can give a memorandum to our program director, Prof. CFA.
Oh, I didn't know that. Colleagues, I do want to underscore what Professor Lee was saying, because if you listen to him carefully, this is somebody who talks with passion, a passion about humanity. When he says the environment is our biggest challenge, and the nations and the world is looking up to us to come up with solutions. So I also want to thank him for having started this initiative with Professor Illuminai, because you are the people who give hope a chance and who give a sense that it is possible. The Deputy Minister, when he spoke, he talked about the global challenges that we face, and talked about the environment, water, and linked it to life. So the passion with which you and Vetri bring into this forum, and the fact that you have these colleagues from every corner of the globe is indicative of saying we are there, count us in. So I want to thank you, colleagues, for continuing on this work, and also to continue to give these guys the support that they need, because without passion, we'll never be able to deal with the challenges facing humanity. Now I'm done with this part of my program. I'll call the chair of the next session to come and assume the position. And I can see he's ready and able and eager